Now, listen, we've talked about the top 10 loadouts within Season 3 for Warzone, but since the launch of Season 3, we've had a handful of meta-changing events and adjustments to weapons, attachments, and so on. So we once again have to re-examine what I think are the top 10 weapons within Warzone, and there's a handful that have made the list for the first time, a couple of it may have dropped off, and some attachments you definitely want to change as opposed to where we've talked about these with different attachments beforehand. So we're going to break down all of that, so as we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. Of these top 10 weapons, which one is your favorite, or is there one that we didn't include this list that you definitely would say that's in the top 10? Feel free to let me know your thoughts down below, but hopefully enjoy the video. If you do, make sure you drop a like down below, and of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Warzone and anything COD related. So if you guys are interested in joining the community, I'd love to have you. That said, let's jump right into it. So when it comes down to it, a lot of these will be in no particular order, but when it comes to the first one I want to talk about, I think it's a great example for some of these changes that we've seen in attachments while still remaining dominant, but also adding a little bit more to your arsenal. One of my own personal favorite loadouts right now is a dual combination of two weapon loadouts here with this, the CR56 Amax as well as the XM4. Now the XM4 I wouldn't say is up there as one of those best rifles for mid to long range, but instead I kit this out for something that is close quarters, closer range engagements. Now as you probably know, that CR56 Amax, that doesn't change often. It hasn't really been adjusted too much from Modern Warfare's main year of support, so this is still that same old build you may recognize from previous videos: the monolithic suppressor, XRK Zodiac barrel, 3x optic, the commando foregrip, and the 45 round mags. But where we end up getting into a little bit of that differentiation is in the XM4 build, because as I talked about, this is more so kitted for a little bit more mobility, not so much maybe control as it is then compared to speed. Now normally we'd end up running the agency suppressor, task force barrel, microflex LED, the 45 round speed mag, and the serpent grip. That would give you a decent little snap-on close quarters rifle that has the power and damage output of a rifle, but a little bit of that speed that an SMG would have in close quarters. But where it differs now after this update is the fact that the agency suppressor actually isn't your best bet here for this on the muzzle. For this, definitely change this and a lot of your other close quarters engagement weapons to a standard suppressor. Why? Well, not only does it now offer sound suppression as it only did before, but you also end up gaining bullet velocity, aim down sight speed, and sprint to fire speed. Three absolutely massive adjustments here to it for only the slight cost of effective damage range. And again, if you're using it like a close quarters weapon, effective damage range isn't going to be any killer trade-off here at this. With the most recent suppressor adjustment, it kind of, to me, makes it a mid-ground between the base bullet velocity and the agency suppressor bullet velocity. So you end up getting a little bit more in on that, but also more speed attributes to it while also staying off the radar. So to me, that is an absolute win-win. So for this updated build, it'd be the suppressor, task force barrel, microflex LED, 45 round speed mag, and serpent grip. Now that is going to carry on for basically the rest of this video here in terms of all these other attachments in terms of the suppressor category for our close quarters weapons, so bear that in mind. Next, one of my other favorite weapons I've been running recently is that of the PPSH. Now this has come into the question again here recently because there was an actual buff to the PPSH with the patch notes for the mid-season update, in which it increased the max damage dealt from 27 to 28, which does actually help a little bit more than you may anticipate, and the maximum damage range was also increased by 3.8%, so allowing you to have a little bit further on those engagements as well to deal max damage. This to me kind of feels on par to where the Mac 10 was pre-nerf in some regards, though it really is still situational and sometimes personal preference, but it hits like a truck if you land your shots, and that fire rate is phenomenal. So for this, I'll end up running that sound suppressor again because we end up getting not only the ability to stay off the radar, but ADS speed, bullet velocity, and sprint to fire speed, which if you're running and gunning with this, sprint to fire absolutely will come in handy with this. The task force barrel then, the Tiger Team spotlight, because as we talk about in other SMG builds, both in past videos and more so in this one as well, this ends up giving you more movement speed and aim walking movement speed, with the only slight trade-off of the flashlight being visible to enemies in close quarters and some slight aiming stability, but you're not really going to lose out too much on that. Then I end up running the Spetsnaz PKM stock for that firing movement speed, aim walking movement speed, and ADS firing speed, giving me again more mobility here, kitting this out to be an incredibly mobile SMG, but also capping it off with the Spetsnaz 71 round drum mag. The 55 can work, but I find myself coming a little too close to comfort with that one, so I end up running the 71, and you're not really going to notice a terrible difference in the ADS speed and reload quickness as opposed to the 55 round. So if you can end up giving yourself that better chance to stay alive, absolutely worth it in my opinion. Another weapon that has been incredible, if you ask me, is a kind of unsung one here with this. It's popped up on the radar a little bit as of recently, but it's one I would highly recommend, that being the PKM. If you guys remember the Bruin back in the main year of support for Modern Warfare, that was of course the most mobile LMG that we had. It hit like a train, but was also, with those adjustments you get kitted out for speed, still had some decent handling to it. The PKM is a notably slower version of that, but again, damage you're absolutely going to notice. You fry your enemies. Plus, with the build we have here, the base default, you have 100 rounds to work with, and that's the smallest you can end up getting. So squad wipes, that's easy. Now, for this, we end up running the monolithic suppressor, the heavy barrel, so that we end up getting that damage range and bullet velocity, 3x optics, so we get that pinpoint precision, the stippled grip tape to try and give us a little bit more mobility, a little bit more speed here in that ADS time, and also sprint to fire speed. But also the big thing is that of the snatch grip here with this. Normally, players may run that commando or the Merc for that recoil control and hip fire and recoil stabilization, but the snatch grip gives you that recoil control plus ADS speed. That's absolutely huge when you're dealing with a bulky weapon like this. So absolutely recommend this, but if you try it out, you'll see what I'm talking about. This thing absolutely slaps. The next couple may seem very familiar, so we'll breeze past these ones because they are still in the top 10, I believe, but also are builds that we've talked about in recent times. So in a lot of this, it might just be reiteration of it, but starting with the MAC-10, I still like the extra mobility here that we end up getting from our fast movement build here at this. We actually end up opting not to take a muzzle because we end up using it elsewhere to end up getting more movement attributes, but we start with the Task Force barrel, the Tiger Team Spotlight, the Raider stock, the Striker grip, and the 53-round drum mag. Now, if you're wondering why, the Tiger Team, the Striker grip, and that Raider stock all end up helping out things like your movement speed, aim walking movement speed, hip fire accuracy, your sprint to fire time, and things like that. So you're really kitting it out so that you can end up being fast and mobile, but also still get your gun up in a very quick amount of time. That is probably the best build, I think, here for the MAC-10 as of late. I'd still say the Modern Warfare MP5 is up there in the top 10 here at this, that being the monolithic integral suppressor, the tac laser, the Merc foregrip, the 45-round mag, and the stippled grip tape, getting you again that gun up as quick as possible, but also still having a little bit of control plus extra hip fire, which if you end up doing a slide cancel into shooting here with that, following through with that, the hip fire is absolutely crucial, so you want to tackle that as well. Then we have things like the Ram 7, which truth be told, I just have a personal preference, tough time with this. I never really have felt comfortable entirely, but statistically speaking, and from everybody else that I know that uses it, they love it. It's just not my personal favorite here, but the Ram 7 is absolutely still up there. The monolithic suppressor, the FSS Ranger barrel, the 3x optic, the commando foregrip, and the 50-round mag. Can't go wrong with that build. The Grau 5.56, again, up there incredibly. Might take an extra shot or two compared to other weapons, but the best part about it is it's incredibly easy to manage in the recoil department. So your monolithic suppressor, Archangel barrel, commando foregrip, 50-round mag, and the Cronin Sniper Elite. That's the build I end up running here on this one. The final two weapons are, again, some stable ones that have been in the top 10 as of recently. The LC-10, I still think is up there. I'd consider the LC-10 kind of like the MP7, where it's not necessarily one-to-one. The MP7 has a higher rate of fire but lower damage output, whereas the LC-10 has a little bit slower of a fire rate but higher damage output when compared together. So it's kind of like a hybrid there with that one, but I'd say that this is kind of like the MP7 to other SMGs that we have on offer. The PPSH, the MAC-10, the MP5, those are fantastic, but the MP7 was that weapon that was kind of unsung in Modern Warfare's main year of support, where it was phenomenal, but it may not have gotten as much love as it may have deserved. Then finally, to round this out, again, talking snipe, just to give you guys for something long range here with this, the Kar 98K still reigns supreme. There were some adjustments in terms of the lasers for snipers within Cold War. I don't think that they quite take the edge just yet on the Kar 98K, just because of that extra mobility you end up having, because it is classified as a marksman rifle as opposed to a sniper. So naturally, it's a little bit lighter of a weapon, giving you a little bit more mobility naturally. So for this, we end up running the monolithic suppressor, the Singard's custom 27.6-inch barrel, the tac laser, sniper scope, and stippled grip tape. But overall, that is what I would think is the updated version here of the top 10 weapons within Warzone. What's nice though is that there still is a ton of weapons that I I think are well versed when it comes to the balance here. There is absolutely more options than just the top 10 here. Things like your AK-47 for close quarters, your M4A1. They're still phenomenal choices. They just are slightly edged out, I think, now taking a look at some of these other things that have been introduced via changes of some nature. So that's my list here. What do you guys think of this? Do you guys agree, disagree, add something to the list? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts down below. But hopefully enjoy the video. Hopefully this helps you out in some way, shape, or form. And if it does, feel free to drop a like down below. If you guys also are new to the channel and want us to stay with all things relating to Warzone and anything Call of Duty, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. A couple of final notes. My friends over at G Fuel ended up bumping up code Espresso to 30% off here for the next couple of days. So if you guys are interested in a restock, checking it out for the very first time, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. 30% off, so now's as good a time as any. You'll save a little bit more on your order with code Espresso. And a huge thank you and shout out to my friends Wrecker, Cabbage, Eddie, and Darkness, who have used code Espresso in the in-game item shop in either Warzone, Cold War, or Modern Warfare. If you guys are interested in supporting the channel a little further and anything ever interests you in the shop, you can use creator code Espresso, but again, don't feel pressure to. It's 100% optional. If you ever do decide to, feel free to tweet me a picture. I'd love to shout out some of your generous support. If you guys also follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected with me outside of YouTube. I live on both those. So if you guys are struck up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. That's it. Thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.